Hello, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to what is the fifth and the final part of my Starting Bushcraft series. And in this one we're going to look at food. Now I guess the easiest solution would be to go for one of these, and this is a boil in the bag meal. You can get them from military surplus shops or from camping shops, and they're high calorie, high flavoured mush, and really they're not very bushcraft. In bushcraft, what we try to do is use what nature provides. But before we go on to the food side of it, there's a couple of other things that we need to think about. Number one is gear. What actual gear do we need? Well, what you need is a fully stocked wanigan, complete with chopping boards, spice racks, a selection of different knives, peelers, bowls, cutlery, all of those things. You're also going to need a full cast iron cook set. Only joking. This series is about starting bushcraft, and so I've kept the gear that you're going to use really, really simple. Now, two fairly important items when we're cooking is a knife and something to cook in. We've gone for a metal mug with a lid, and that should suffice for most of the stuff that we do when we're just starting out. You're also going to want a little selection of bowls, a bowl to eat out of, something to cut on, and a little pot of oil. You don't have to go for the elaborate hand carved. You could probably just get a couple of bowls from your kitchen, and as far as a little chopping board goes, you can get these little flexi chopping mats from most supermarkets, and the bonus is they slide down the back of your rucksack. Now for collecting wild foods in, I'll go for one of these. It's a little mesh bag, scrunches up to nothing and fits in a pocket, but you can actually fit quite a lot of forage foods in here. The other bonus with these is, instead of carrying a colander, I can wash all my foods in this little mesh bag. So back when I was a chef, I used to have a larder, and in my larder were all items that didn't need refrigeration, but they were things that helped me create really good dishes. They supplemented the fresh ingredients, the fish, the meat, the vegetables, to help me produce really, really good dishes. When I'm out in the woods, it's no different. I carry my own little larder, a selection of ingredients that can be used with stuff that I find around me to produce some really good, nutritious food.
I got a potato.
It would be really nice to be able to hunt and fish and get all of my protein needs from nature. But realistically, I'm probably not going to be able to do that. So from my larder, I can draw on protein items. Things like corned beef, something that was used in all the old time cookery. We can still use it nowadays. Doesn't require refrigeration and can make up a really, really good meal with just one little can of this. Tinned fish. This one's mackerel, but you can get all sorts of tinned fish, and fish is really, really good, and again, doesn't require refrigeration. It can go in your backpack and you've got something that's healthy, nutritious, and really, really easy to prepare. As well as our tinned foods, we can also carry something like this, chorizo sausage, a cured meat. And cured meats can again be carried in our backpack, don't require refrigeration, and can make up some really, really tasty dishes. Something that also is often forgotten is that protein doesn't have to come in the form of meat or fish. It can also come in the form of beans, and you can either carry them dried and pre-soak them, or you can carry them tinned, which is really, really convenient. Something else I need to think about is carbohydrate, because out in the woods gathering good quantities of carbohydrate can be quite difficult. It's also quite time consuming and very energy intense, so for what I'm actually gathering calorie wise, I could be expending actually gathering it. So I carry a few different forms of carbohydrate with me. Now I tend to carry self-raising flour. Some people would say you carry the plain flour and then put in baking powder and raising agents. Why bother? If I carry self-raising flour, everything there that I need is all contained in the one mix, saves faffing around. Other forms of carbohydrate I might carry: bulgur wheat, absolutely brilliant. Couscous, now you can buy plain couscous, or you can buy these ones that are flavoured. There's lots of different ones. They require virtually no cooking, just a little bit of hot water, and they are really tasty and really lightweight to carry too. You can also get noodles. These are the super noodles, come with a little stock sachet, again require virtually no cooking, and you can make up a really, really good broth, crumble this up and add it into it using just the wild ingredients you find around you, bit of water and this crunched up. Quick cook pasta, you can get these ones in sauces, require a little bit of simmer time, all the sauces in there and it's all done. Really, really good. Something else I tend to carry as well, because I haven't got a fridge, is this stuff, skimmed milk. And this can be used not only for putting in your tea and coffee, but you can add it to flour to make a damper bread. You can add it to sauces to make them quite sort of thick and creamy. Again, a little bit of flour and you've got a half decent sauce. Something else I carry for flavourings is this stuff, garlic puree. I also carry tomato puree, and they can add a good bit of zing, a good shot of flavour into a dish. And of course, vegetables don't need refrigeration. A potato can add that little bit of extra carb, and an onion can add that little bit of extra flavour. I carry one of these. This is my little mobile spice rack. All it is a little pill dispenser. It's got 14 little compartments, and in here I've got all my different herbs and all my different spices to help me add that little extra something special to my cooking while I'm out in the woods.
Dad, that's your one. I'll pick up my one.
Big part of bushcraft is learning how we can utilise nature for our own needs, whether it's materials for firelighting or for making things or for just feeding ourselves. There's a wealth of different foods out there if you know what to look for. On my walking today, I saw all manner of different wild foods: Alexander's, burdock, jack by the hedge, lady smock, nettles, a whole host of different wild foods that are out there just for the picking. And as the year rolls on and the calendar progresses, more and more will come up. It's just knowing what to look for. For you to get the most out of your foraging, I've got 3 little rules for you to follow. Number 1, always 100% identify what you are picking before you consume it. Now, I've got an old friend, he's an ex-Special Forces survival instructor, and he's got a saying which goes, all fungi are edible, just some of them only once. And that's true of all things that we forage. It's not only the fungi that will kill you, there are a few other plants that you would need to be aware of. While you're starting out, get yourself a little guidebook. Now this is the Collins Gem version of the classic Food for Free, and it's a really good little book. It's got diagrams, photographs, there's even a few recipes in the back. Its handy size means you can carry it with you. There are other ones. Roger Phillips makes some excellent plant identification guides. This one is a really old one I've had since I was a kid, the Hamlin Guide to Medicinal and Edible Plants of Northern Europe. And it's a really good guide. It's a bit limited because it only has diagrams. Another excellent one nowadays are the River Cottage guides. Written by a guy called John Wright. The content of the books, the explanations, the photographs are excellent. Of course, if you really want to know about wild foods and how to forage, then it pays to go out with a forager. Find someone who knows the plants and who can take you out. Now, a lot of bushcraft courses, they teach you a little bit about foraging, but I would recommend that you go on a specific foraging course. Now, someone I can recommend through personal experience, because he's an old mate who I've known for a very long time and whose knowledge is just incredible, is the guy who runs the Wild Food School down in Lostwithiel in Cornwall. His name is Marcus Harrison, and he doesn't teach general bushcraft, he just teaches foraging, all about wild foods. He's done work for the BBC, he's worked for the Ministry of Defence, he's written magazine articles, he's written books. Not only is he a good forager, he's also a bit of a foodie, so he can tell you what to do with it afterwards. I'll put a link to his webpage in the description below. Look him up. I say, in my opinion, his knowledge is unequalled. Rule number 2, always wash anything that you forage. Foraging by nature is a little bit opportunistic. You're walking along, you see some stuff, you think, ah, yes, I know what that is, I can 100% identify it, that's great. You may then take it home and consume it, only to discover you're not very well, because there was something on that plant. So wash things, make sure that they're clean. Try to avoid areas where there are regular dog walkers. Also, a little bit of local knowledge as well. Now, on my walk into work, quite often I look because I know there's several places where I can pick wild asparagus. I also know they're on the edge of a field and that the farmer quite often sprays that with insecticide. But after talking to the farmer, I discovered he has to use a biodegradable organic one, and actually after a couple of weeks any shoots that then come up thereafter are safe to eat, and he's quite happy for me to collect those. Rule number 3, get creative. A lot of the foraging guides have a few recipes in the back, but what I do is I put together a little recipe bank, different dishes that we can make out in the woods that are good, tasty and use different wild foods. I've even put together a foraging and cooking section on my videos, and if you go through there you'll see some really good ideas. I think there's about 10 videos of different things you can go out and forage and cook. There are a few recipe books that just focus on wild foods. Roger Phillips does a really good one that I've had for years, and there's also these two. You can get these off Amazon. They're done by my friend Marcus Harrison down in Cornwall. This one's cooking with nettles, but you can apply it to an awful lot of other greens. It doesn't have to be just nettles. This other one, cooking with seaweed. Again, 101 different ways, really good, really simple, really nice recipes, and a lot can be adapted to cook while you're out in the woods. But all this talk of food is making me hungry, so let's head off to the woods and cook. So the fire's on the go. I've picked some stinging nettles, and then using a modified recipe from one of Marcus's books, I'm going to use some chorizo sausage, some butter beans, a red onion, a little bit of garlic puree, and a little tiny bit of olive oil. With the fire on, just need to prep all the ingredients. So our first job is to wash the stinging nettles off. I'm going to use my metal mug, my water bottle, put a little bit of water in the cup, and then because my nettles are in a mesh bag, I can just dunk them into the cup, give them a good wash off and a bit of a rinse, just like using a colander. All I need to do now, give it a little wring out, hang it up. These will be good to go, ready for cooking. Okay. So with everything prepped and ready to go, the next thing I need to do is get my cooking pan on and get the oil nice and hot. So now the oil's hot, I'm going to add the onion and add the chorizo sausage. That just needs to sweat down a little bit, so I'll get the lid on, give it a few minutes just for the onion to soften down, and then we'll add the garlic puree. So now I'm going to add a little bit of my garlic puree. This is all getting hot now, so safety first, got my glove on. So with that all warming up nicely, next thing I'm going to do is add about half the liquid from the butter beans into the pan. Then I'm going to add the butter beans. Give it a little stir. And then get that back on to warm through. I'm going to put it a little bit further back so that I'm not going to burn it. I'm just going to gently re-warm the beans. So those are heated through nicely. I'm going to add the last ingredient, which is our nettles. The nettles don't actually require a massive amount of cooking. You just want a little bit of heat to pass through it, and that's enough to kill the sting. You don't have to boil them furiously or anything, just heat them up. The chemicals that cause the sting, neither are heat stable, so as the heat passes through, it kills the sting. So as the fire's dying down, that's had a few minutes to heat through, and I think we're about good to go. And it looks and smells great. Really good. So there you go, a simple, delicious recipe that you can do with the simplest of kit. You don't need anything expensive, just a metal mug and a couple of bowls. Everyone should give this a go. As I said, if you're foraging, be a little bit careful. Remember those 3 rules. Always remember to positively identify before you consume anything. But the benefits are great. As I said earlier, the health benefits of eating forage foods as opposed to their cultivated counterparts are absolutely immense, and the health world are just starting to discover this. If you enjoyed the video, then remember, hit that like button, and as always, if you haven't subscribed already, subscribe to the channel. If you think somebody else would enjoy it, then please remember to share it. If you want to contact me about anything at all, my email address will come up on the screen, and as always, show your support for the channel. Pop over to my Etsy shop, and it's called Greencraft Shop, and over there you'll find a selection of things that I make, including the Greencraft patch. Show your support for the channel, get yourself a patch. An awful lot of people do. I send them out all over the world. I've been Neil, and until next time, stay safe. I'm going to get on and eat my breakfast now.